Today is race number 100 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and over the last 50 years, this track has been known as one of the fastest anywhere. It's always a game of survival on these high banks, and today will test man and machine. Engine failures have been a big story so far this year, and that's what derailed Matt Kenseth in Las Vegas. But there was no stopping Kyle Busch on his home track as he took the checkers for the first time this year, one race earlier than last year when he won here at Atlanta. Will he repeat, or will this be the weekend that Jeff Gordon gets back to his championship ways? Answers to those questions and more. Get on your feet, everybody. It's time for race day. Hello, everyone, and welcome to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. I'm John Roberts, alongside of Mr. Excitement, Jimmy Spencer, a guy who loves this racetrack, and Kenny Wallace, a guy who loves being everywhere.
I love Atlanta Motor Speedway. This is the greatest racetrack. When you decide on a mile-and-a-half racetrack, they talk about Charlotte and Vegas. They talk about Kansas and Chicago. No, it's Atlanta. We have the best finishes. Old man Earnhardt loved this racetrack because it brings the driver out. We saw Carl Edwards pass Jimmy Johnson in the last corner. Kenny, of all the racetracks you can go to, top, bottom, in the middle, this is the place. We'll see one today.
Jimmy Spencer said it right. This racetrack produces some of the greatest finishes in the history of this sport. And now what's going on, it's incredible. We've seen the second place qualifier, Kurt Busch, qualify second, riding high. Everybody else, when they went to qualifier, right to the bottom. There's guys already high, Spence. It's going to be a groovy track. Come on, baby.
It's going to be groovy, baby. and you know what? When you look at qualifying, 1/10 of a second is what separates the first position from the second position, and that's actually kind of big. That's actually kind of a big margin.
It's hard to believe, Johnny. And you know, these guys are traveling in excess of 185 mile an hour. Mark Martin, I think, was 187. That's average, fans. That's over 200 mile an hour going in the corner. Track's bumpy. It's like you said, Kenny, it's groovy, and they're trying to figure out the groove.
And one of the big stories today is going to be tire wear. These guys are going to be, pit stops are going to mean everything. It's the good old Rockingham days. It's the good old Darlington days. Guys are going to be slipping and sliding. Just what Tony Stewart ordered. The tires should wear out, the pace should slow up, and the racing should be awesome.
Yep, and that's what a lot of drivers told us throughout this weekend. They said, hey, this is going to be a wild one, but we can't wait. So let's now go to where the rubber hits the road and check in with Hermie Sadler. Hermie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Hey, what a great racetrack this is, as you guys have pointed out. I'm standing on Turn 4 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Turn 4 that has set up some of the greatest finishes in the history of NASCAR that you guys talked about. Take a look. 2000, Earnhardt, Edges Labonte. Who can forget 2001, Kevin Harvick over Jeff Gordon. In 2005, Carl Edwards getting on the outside of Jimmy Johnson right here in Turn 4, beating him back to the line. But let's take a look at this racetrack. Compare it to last week's racetrack at Las Vegas. If you remember last week, I was on the racetrack in Turn 2 at Las Vegas. Look at that good-looking man right there to my right. Ain't he pretty? But look, let's talk about the pavement. Las Vegas was recently paved. A lot of grip. The tires didn't fall off. The guys didn't have to worry about the tires and how much were they falling off. But let's take a look at this pavement right here at Atlanta. They reconfigured this racetrack in 1997. Look at the rocks, the grits. They have not paved this racetrack since it was reconfigured. So tires are an issue, grip is an issue, balance is an issue. This race will be a war of attrition. It'll be up to the driver to not only go fast, but to know where that line is. Don't overstep that line and get yourself in trouble. So these guys will have their hands full, and these drivers today, JR, will earn their money.
Hermie, thanks a lot. Now, this was the site of a recent Goodyear tire test, and the reason being was because there were a lot of tire concerns last time we came here. But a lot of drivers so far have told us that they like this tire. They're still a little bit concerned about it, but still, it's a lot better than where we were before.
Way better. Tip my hat to Goodyear. They have been through the ringer for the last year. Everybody criticizing them till no end. Well, you know what? They have worked hard. They have a great tire. I saw the truck race yesterday. What a great race. But this racetrack, you'll see styles today. Roll out, roll to the bottom. Mark Martin staying down real low. Earnhardt Jr., drive that baby in, get up there high, carry the momentum off the corner. That's what I like about this racetrack, Kenny. When the track gives up, you're going to see a great race.
Well, you know, last year, this race, we had such devastation. Remember Tony Stewart? He said, oh, these tires are horrible. So Greg Biffle, Juan Pablo Montoya did the Goodyear tire test. They gave Goodyear all their information they needed. Now the guys are really going fast for 10 laps. Now, as you know, I'm animated, so let me explain to you the difference between last week and this week. This is really our fastest racetrack because of the pavement wearing out. Last week at Vegas, it would be like this. It'd be like that. This week, yeah,
baby.
that will be this race. So there's going to be a lot of coasting going on. Why? Because the grip is there. You cannot drive it in hard. If you drive it in too hard, you hit the wall, baby. And as Mark Martin says, you'll be picking me up in Macon, Georgia.
And you know what the funny thing is the cars really sound like Kenny Wallace. They really do. For the first time since 2007 in October, Jeff Gordon is on top of the point standings. Let's take a look at the top 5 in points right now. And Spence, there's a couple surprises in there.
Two surprises here. Clint Boyer with that new team second. But you know what? He's had 20-some odd races in the top 20. And the other one, Rudiman Kenny.
And I want to talk about my friend Bobby Labonte. Bobby is a new man. He was almost out of a ride for about 2 months. He got this ride, and look, he's rewarding them. He is a champion, and he's 10th in the points.
You know, really no big surprise here, probably except Michael Waltrip. You know, you would think Denny and Casey, Juan Pablo, yeah, but Michael Waltrip, what a resurgence this year in the top 12 in points right now.
Good start to the season for Elliott Sadler, 16th in points. Same thing with Vickers, Jeff Burton. Jimmy Johnson in 19th, though. I don't think we expected to see that after what he's done the last 3 years.
Well, Jimmy Johnson is having a rough start to the year, but to be 19th is really good. But what about the Australian, Marcus Ambrose, making these commercials with little koala bears? And he's here in America, but Marcus is all about bringing Australia to him. And I like the guy. He brings a lot of energy. And I got to tell you, Marcus Ambrose holding a pretty wheel. Sometimes we don't understand these guys racing the Nationwide Series like Marcus did last year. You know, he's a heck of a road course driver, and he won at Watkins Glen. But he comes to Cup, and boy, he's been doing a good job. Top 20s everywhere.
All right, so Marcus Ambrose is off to a great start this weekend, and that's what we're going to talk about, guys off to great starts and guys off to not that good of starts this year. Wendy, and you're standing by with the guy who is off to a great start.
Yeah, according to NASCAR Smarts, when I watched that, he was voted by the fans as the hottest driver in NASCAR right now. Congratulations on that win yesterday in the truck race. Congratulations on Vegas. You are definitely on a roll, my friend.
Well, we are, and it's great to have that. And it's obviously a lot of fun to go out there and win races every weekend. But you never know how long it can last. But it's always fun to be able to go out there and compete against the best and beat the best.
Now, I have to give you a lot of credit. You've been really sick this week. Yet yesterday in that truck race, you were really wheeling that truck. I don't know how you're doing it and how you're finding all that energy. It must be that NOS.
It is, certainly. NOS energy drink will keep you up on pace. It's my human horsepower for this week. But, what's cool about this actually is it's the new can. It's the Rowdy can. And NOS energy drink came out with this to commemorate our 21 wins of last season. And so far this year, we've been getting on a roll where we've got 4 already this year. So hopefully we can come out with another can here later on this year for this year's stuff that we've done.
Now, I got to ask you about practice yesterday. That first practice, it was cloudy and a little cool. And then the second practice, it was more like this, sunny, a little bit warmer. What's the key to getting around here today with the weather changes that we've had? Are you going to be riding that high line?
To me, the high line hasn't really worked for me with this car at this place. And anytime that I ever try to go up there, even with the old car, I'd always get in a fence somehow. So I'm a bottom feeder. I love the bottom, just going down there and running on that white line and trying to keep it down there and keep it straight as much as you can. So the biggest thing about today, though, is not getting loose, but not getting tight. You want to keep a good balance in your race car. You want to be able to drive up off the corner straight and keep the rear tires under you.
All right, good luck to Kyle Busch. Remember, he got Toyota's first win right here in Atlanta in the spring 1 year ago, and he has 9 of Toyota's 11 victories. Johnny?
Yeah, Wendy, those numbers for Kyle Busch are absolutely incredible. 21 victories last year in NASCAR's top 3 series, and he's already got 4 so far this year. Watch out for Rowdy Busch today on the racetrack. He's already taken 1 victory away from this place so far this weekend. We'll be back with much more NASCAR Race Day in a moment.
Lot of years, lot of races, lot of history. The ATL's given NASCAR some very fond memories. And we've got the first 99's greatest hits. Coming at you, NASCAR Race Day on Speed.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. You can do it, we can help. Brought to you in part by Advance Auto Parts. Keep the wheels turning. And by Interstate Batteries, over 200,000 dealers nationwide. Find one at interstatebatteries.com.
This track was originally called the Atlanta International Raceway, and over the last 50 years it has been reconfigured, remeasured, and repaved. But if one guy knows how to get around this place, it's the veteran, the politician we often call him, and that's Jeff Burton. Let's now go to Wendy Venturini. Wendy?
Thanks, Johnny. And Jeff really knew how to get around Las Vegas last week. Finished third, moved from 30th to 18th in the points. I know it's not where you want to be, Jeff, in the points right now, but it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Well, certainly. I mean, points always matter, and anybody says they don't, they're not paying real close attention. But you know, we obviously running well is really important because every week builds on the next week. So you know, California was really bad for us, and then turn around and go lead a bunch of laps and have a chance to win last week. That felt really good.
Now, when we come here to Atlanta, it seems like everybody talks about a slick racetrack and how these tires are performing here. It's multi-grooves, lots of ways to get around this track. What is the best way for you?
Well, so far we've been on the bottom. The Cat Chevrolet has liked being on the bottom more than the top. We fought, as I think everybody in the garage has fought really loose, and our car just seems to respond and make better lap time on the bottom. So that's our plan right now, is to hope a lot of people have to go to the top, and that'll leave the bottom lane open. But you know, really, honestly, every time I've run really well here, I've been able to run either one. I can run the bottom or the top. So I think a good car can run wherever you really need to go. But right now, we're going to focus on the bottom.
Now, when you look at today, 3 races behind us, there's still plenty of racing. At what point do you start to assess your season? When I ask you this question, you always have a very comical answer.
Yeah, we started at the Bud Shootouts when we started assessing our season. I think that you know, it's really easy to think about tomorrow, but what gets you in a place you want to be tomorrow is doing really well today. And the better you can do, then you're not making big changes. You know, for example, for us, we went to California with a particular setup and an aerodynamic design. We had to go back after that and come to Vegas with something completely different. That's not the situation you really want to be in. So you want to be as good as you can every chance you can, and we have to assess those things right now. And whether it's good or bad, you have to address them. And but that goes on right now.
All right, good luck to Jeff Burton today, who gained a lot of spots in the points last week, hoping to do so today in Atlanta. Let's head over to Hermie Sadler.
Standing by with Casey Kane. Casey, a pretty good qualifying run, but talking to you before we came on, you really like your race car. You guys have been making progress each and every week on these kind of racetracks.
Yeah, I think we have. You know, Elliott was really good in qualifying as well, and our car yesterday handled good. It drove around the track. We had it loose. We had it tight. We could, you know, kind of do whatever we wanted with our Budweiser Dodge, which was, you know, different than the last 2 weeks at California and Vegas. So I feel like we should have a good shot today to hopefully run in the top 10 throughout the race. People will ask, last May, you know, you had a streak of races. You won the All-Star race, won the 600, won Pocono. How can you do so well and then, you know, struggle? Inconsistency has been the key, or been the thing about these Dodges. What can you do to kind of have your car like this every week? Well, I think, you know, just to have Kenny Francis and Keith and the guys we have on the 9 car is a huge help to hopefully get that consistency where we need it. We've always been, you know, a top 15, 20 team, but to get in the top 10 and be a little more consistent there, we need to work on. And hopefully it's time. But yeah, when you have those races, a month of really good races like we had, you know that at any time, I guess, you could win a race. Even when times are not so good the next weekend, you never know what happens. So we'll just keep trying. We'll keep working hard, and hopefully soon we'll get some. And last question, a lot of talk about engines. Obviously, the Penske can't running the new style Dodge engine. You guys are on the way to that, but when do you expect to see that be inside the Budweiser Dodge? I don't know. I've, you know, watching the Penske cars, it's helped them a lot this year. They've done a great job with their Dodges, and I think, you know, I think we're going in that direction. I think we need to go in that direction with Dodges, and, you know, hopefully we'll have them at some point. The one thing about our engines is we have really reliable engines. They, I mean, knock on wood, we don't have very many issues with our engines. That goes back to the engine shop. They do a great job. So we just need to keep updating, and hopefully at some point we'll get what they have, and it'll be good. And JR, I know we got fantasy picks coming on at the end of race day today. This guy has won from the pole here, so might be something for you to think about, you guys on the stage.
Yeah, Hermie, you're right. That might not be a bad pick there. Casey Kane in 10 races at this track has 1 win from the pole and 4 top 10s as well. We'll be back with much more NASCAR Race Day in a moment.
After last week's victory, it's time to break out the memories. How did Kyle triumph last spring in Atlanta? We'll show you. Around the Turn, NASCAR Race Day on Speed.
1 year ago today, we saw a wild sign of things to come here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. The wild thing went on a tear and went on to win 8 races for a season high among drivers, and it all started here at the AMS.
We're here today at Atlanta Motor Speedway, an absolutely gorgeous day.
And a big crowd is filing into the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and they are going to enjoy a great afternoon of racing.
43 cars queued up on the pit road right now in anticipation of the start of the Cobalt Tools 500.
All right, Ronnie, let's go, buddy. Let's do it, Mikey.
Hey, Bob. All good today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good job qualifying. You got us some pit stalls. It's going to be a fun day. Fun day. Thanks for all the hard work this week. I know a little bit of adversity, but really appreciate you, Robbie and Chris, for stepping up and helping us out. No problem, Kyle. Just remember, 325 laps.
These teams have sort of found a groove. These drivers, they may have an ill-handling car. They're just doing the best they can, and they're trying to ride this thing out, at least early on.
I believe our leader's got a problem. Carl Edwards is coming into the corner. A lot of smoke. It broke. It broke. It broke.
Took just 40 races for Toyota to claim its first win in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. It goes to Kyle Busch.
The 18 is back at Atlanta. Good job, boys. You are the man, baby. You are the man. Love you, dude. You guys are awesome pit stops. I love everybody here.
NASCAR's Top Series has been coming here to Atlanta since 1960, and today it celebrates its 100th race. One of NASCAR's original 7 super speedways, Atlanta has a history rich in fast action photo finishes and legendary stories. It was Petty's last and Gordon's first. From Fireball Roberts to Carl Edwards, to win at Atlanta is to share victory lane with the greatest drivers NASCAR has ever seen.
Live from Atlanta, Georgia.
This is the day of the Atlanta 500-mile Grand National Race. The weather is ideal, hot and sunny.
The track here is a paradox. The spectators love it, the crew chiefs worry about it.
This is the first of 335 turns at the high bank asphalt track. 500 miles to go, and they'll do it at speeds approaching 150 miles an hour.
So from the driver's point of view, a very tiring day, and for the cars, I should think a pretty tough race.
The field of 46 wheels into the front straightaway, and the race is on with a flying start.
Atlanta is NASCAR history, with a reputation built on speed.
A bit of history at Atlanta Motor Speedway. It took just 40 races for Toyota to claim its first win in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. It goes to Kyle Busch.
Where anything can happen in an instant on this 1.5-mile super speedway.
Look out! Goldsmith whips in the first turn. He takes A.J. Foyt with him.
And where big-time drivers prevail with big-time racing.
His second win at Atlanta Motor Speedway for Jimmy Johnson in the Lowe's Cobalt Chevrolet.
In Atlanta's first 99 Cup races, 61 have been won by series champions.
The checkered flag is out for Cale Yarborough.
Well, I think Pierce
person was probably running the strongest, but I think we had something for it.
Including a streak of 11 straight from 1995 till 2000.
At the stripe, it is going to be Dale Earnhardt by maybe 1 foot as he wins the Cracker Barrel 500 in a photo finish with Bobby Labonte.
And speaking of champions, from 1987 until 2000, Atlanta hosted the season finale for NASCAR's Premier Series. And in that 14-year span, showcased some of NASCAR's closest and most memorable championship moments.
Here comes the checkered flag. There's the end of the race. Rusty Wallace has become the 1989 Winston Cup champion. Dale Earnhardt finishes third. He will win the 1990 Winston Cup championship.
We've been fighting back ever since '87 trying to win another one. It's been a long time coming.
Bill Elliott comes off the fourth corner. He wins the Hooters 500. But Alan Kulwicki is coming off of corner number 4, knowing that he's winning the championship. There's the checkered flag for Alan. He's the champion for '92.
As Atlanta Motor Speedway celebrates the century mark, 43 drivers look to scribe their name into the record books and into history.
So as we look at some more numbers at Hotlanta, here's our advice to you. If you're anywhere in the area, jump in your car, come down and see us, and we guarantee you will see a great race with a great finish. From Cousin Fireball back in July 1960 to the most wins by Dale Earnhardt, 9. And right now, Bobby Labonte, among active drivers, holds that mark. Most poles, Ryan Newman and Buddy Baker. It just doesn't get much better than this when it comes to history. And also, there was another bit of history that we saw in that last bit of videotape. If we can go back to it for a moment, we saw Kenny Wallace got busted wearing a Dodgers jacket in the blue jacket. That's Kenny Wallace in a Dodgers jacket.
Hey, now hold on. Let me tell you the story there. First of all, that's devastating to me, because my Cardinals are going to win 11th World Championship. Okay, I'm speechless.
We got you, brother.
I was cold. I was cold that day, and I didn't have a jacket on. And I got a buddy from out in California. His name is Bones. And anyway, he had a jacket, and I said, let me borrow that jacket.
Kenny,
oh, my gosh.
Kenny, you're digging a deeper hole than you want to
be. You better quit with your head, old buddy.
Listen, he thinks the greatest thing, Manny Ramirez, is going to the Dodgers. He loves the Dodgers. He doesn't like the Cardinals.
That's bad. Oh, hold on. I got to tell you what I think of Atlanta. The Deep South. I think of the Dixie 500, Dale Earnhardt, and the Waffle House, baby. Yes, Atlanta.
Now I'm speechless after that. I don't know where that whole thing went. We planned to talk about something completely different. We ended up talking about Kenny Wallace and Waffle Houses. Whatever, anything can happen here on race day. We'll be back to Atlanta in just a moment.
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day, where the drivers' meeting is already in progress and cars going through the tech inspection line. Let's head right over here to this tech inspection area where Michael Waltrip's car is going, because this week's Real Deal focuses on Michael Waltrip Racing. This is their 3rd year in business, and 3 races in, 2 of their cars already in the top 12. Now, Michael Waltrip, as the owner, has brought on a lot of new personnel, and as we're seeing, those changes are paying off. Here's part 1 of this week's Real Deal. You have an extra pep in your step lately. The old Michael Waltrip seems like you're back in full form. What's changed about you?
Well, I'm just happy. You know, I feel good about where I'm at. I've been, I told Booty Barker, my crew chief, I said, I'm going to push all in for you in '09. I said, it's going to be 100% Mike, and hopefully that's good enough where we can go win a race and contend and run up front. And Booty said that's what he wants out of me. And I have so much respect for what he's accomplished with the challenges he's been faced with that it just inspires me to be a better person, or be all I can be, because I know he's being all that he can be and has his whole life. And it just makes me want to do more and give more for him and hopefully our whole team.
It seems like people were harsh on you guys the first couple of years, getting started, getting off the ground, but now people are being harsh on you because they're saying, hey, wait, you guys are running good, like it's a surprise.
Well, it should be a little bit of surprise. If you think of our humble beginnings, the way we came out of the gate, missing races and not being able to compete. But, you know, I just like to remind people that we were trying to race against organizations that have been doing this for over 20-some years. And we showed up at Daytona in '07 with a smile on our face, and we were happy because we didn't know what all we didn't know. We were so far off base, but we didn't have any idea. We just built a team and we were ready to go. And then to take that scenario where we were 2 years ago and fast forward it to 2009, a couple of cars in the top 12 in points and competing, you know, contending. It's just incredible. Very proud of this team and the stories of the people that work here.
You said California was going to be a good gauge of how your race cars were running. We're through Las Vegas, had to do Atlanta. At what point are you going to look back and say, okay, we really are doing what we wanted to do this year?
We just need to maintain, continue. We had a goal when the season started. I think there's between the big four, there's 16 cars, and we wanted to infiltrate those 16. We wanted to put one or two of our cars up in the middle of those 16 and hope that that was a sign of progress and would be a successful year.
And I've heard you say these words that 2009 could be your last year as a driver, but it seems like with things going so well, how could that happen?
Well, I said it could be if I don't run like I want to. If I don't run well, it could very well be my last year. And that was a little bit, I hate to give my secret away, but it had two purposes to it. I wanted to make sure people watched and seen how it would go. That was one. I wanted to make sure if there's any superstar drivers that are thinking maybe they want to do something different in '09, they know there might be a seat available for them if they wanted to come to MWR and drive. So my thought process was, I'm going to throw this out here. I could very well be, if I don't contend and compete, it will be. But I think I will, and I think I'll be around for a couple more years. I love racing my car, and it just delivers something to my personality that I have to have. You know, I'm a goofball and goof around and have fun, but when I get in that car, I just grit my teeth and go, and I love that part of my life.
Right there in that story, how much he enjoys his NASCAR life, how much he's enjoying being an owner. But really, there's been a big difference in the atmosphere at Michael Waltrip Racing. When I walked into the shop, the music was blaring. These crew guys are smiling. They had their heads held high in the shop, much different than when it was 2 years ago at Michael Waltrip Racing. And we heard right there, he's even talking about the idea of retiring after 2009. I don't know, Jimmy Spencer, do you think Michael Waltrip will really retire? Things are starting to turn around for Michael Waltrip Racing.
Well, you know, Wendy, I go all the way back. Michael Waltrip started in my race shop. My wife and I own a race shop. Michael started there. I watched him start this thing, and I was really proud of him taking this on. But unfortunately, I don't think he'll win this year. But boy, he's running a lot better. And I think that what he's getting at is that if you look back, Ganassi was trying to hire a high-profile driver. They all turned him down. Like, he doesn't run well. That's what Michael's gunning for. He needs to get some more hired guns in there. David Rudman's finally paying off for him. Michael's going to do a whole lot better job with his organization by being the owner, doing his TV stuff, doing his sponsor relations, putting a top-name young driver in there and being successful. That's what I think he's braced himself for. But unfortunately, I don't think that he's going to win this year.
But, Jimmy, does he have to win? Does he have to win in order to be successful? Why?
Oh, you have to win in this sport to be successful,
But he's 12th in points.
It doesn't matter where you are in the points. You know, it's like I said last year, Jeff Burton's not going to win the championship. You know, this sport relies on winners and championships. That's what they go for. And you know, Michael has done well. He's one of the best plate racers of all time. But at the end of the day, he's building an organization, a lot of employees, a lot of people to answer to, and he's going to serve better out of the car and in the organization, Kenny. That's just, you know, and I love Michael Waltrip. I think he's a great guy, but it's my opinion.
Everybody knows that me and Michael are friends. He's let me drive his cars at Daytona, Talladega, and I've run well. But let me just tell you a little story that I think I can share. I told Michael Waltrip one day, I said, you know, Michael, I cannot believe Richard Petty still comes to this racetrack every week. And Michael stunned me. He goes, oh, that's what I want to do. I said, what? Michael Waltrip said, I want to come to the racetrack every week like Richard Petty, walk around the RV area, walk through the garage area. He said, Kenny, I want to be Richard Childress. And I said, Michael, I said, that's awesome. So here's my point. Michael Waltrip loves NASCAR. This is what he does. He doesn't want to do anything else. And Michael Waltrip is going to do good, whether he's in the race car, out of the race car. Matter of fact, I think when Michael gets out of the race car, and this is hard for people when we get in our late 40s, to think we can survive out of the race car. It's very hard on me and Spencer and Kenny Schrader and Michael Waltrip and Bobby Labonte. But I can tell you, Michael Waltrip will be as good out of the race car as he is in it.
And that's what a lot of us hope for around here, because it's a lot more fun with Mikey around on the weekends.
Oh,
It'd be too quiet. It wouldn't be as much fun without Mikey around. Well, there's a picture. Mikey looks a little bulked up in that picture, doesn't he? He's in good shape these days. Ready to race for a few more years. Hey, we got Bobby Labonte coming up. This week on This Week in NASCAR, Steve Burns and company will recap Atlanta. They will look ahead to the Bristol Motor Speedway, which is always exciting. And also, we'll get a look inside the Biffle family with Greg Biffle and his dad. So don't miss This Week in NASCAR. It should be a regular stop every Monday. And you know what's a regular stop twice a year for the race fans in Atlanta is this Atlanta Motor Speedway. We got folks out in droves here, and there is still time for you to make it down here and see a great race this afternoon. Let's get you back inside now and check back in with Wendy Venturini with today's news. Wendy?
Well, good morning, Johnny. Of course, we're used to talking about the news at the first part of the show. We're going to talk about who's going to the back of the pack today, because there hasn't been a whole lot of on-track incidents this weekend. In fact, no one's going to a backup car. The only one is a backup engine for David Reagan, so he will have to start from the rear of the field. That's the only news on the racetrack. However, there's a lot of other news happening in the garage area. Let's start with Martin Truex. Poor guy, he had kidney stones yesterday, had to go to the hospital. Now, good news, they have reported and updated me on that. Martin Truex will race today, the whole entire race. No driver will be standing by because he was able to, fix his kidney stone problem. Now, the last and probably the most interesting news of the weekend came from Robin Pemberton on Friday when he announced some information regarding the start and park cars. There are some independent owners out there that maybe when they start the race, they don't complete all the laps for financial reasons, whatever the case may be. Robin Pemberton said the stakes are just too high here in the Sprint Cup Series. They are going to be examining those start and park cars. If you do pull in your car before the end of the race, they are going to be checking out and inspecting those race cars to make sure that you really did have a problem. And Johnny, that's probably the most interesting thing that we've heard about NASCAR, because we want to keep these fields nice and full, but at the same time, we want to be competitive in NASCAR.
Wendy, thanks a lot. That has been a huge question for many years, the question of the start and parkers. And Spencer, I know you have an opinion on this.
Oh, let me tell you what, NASCAR, you got more rules than the Geneva Conventions. You do not need to come up with another rule saying that, hey, your car entered, you inspected, you qualified, and now you know what? We're going to come up with another rule to police that you can't park your car. Damn it, that is way out of line. Way out of line, NASCAR.
Why so, Jimmy? What's so wrong with NASCAR police?
Well, they charge them a tremendous amount of money for a license. They charge them $2,000 for the tires. They charge them these entry fees and everything else. And because a team decides that, you know what, we made this race, we're going to take the 70 or 80 grand and still go in the hole. Why should you, NASCAR, go and say, you know what, now we're going to police it. You have to try to run the whole 500 miles of Atlanta. That's not a rule. They don't need to be stepping into that territory. No
Kenny,
way.
What do you think?
Well, let me tell you what I think about this whole start and park issue. Up around New Jersey, they're like, hey, Guido, let me tell you something, okay? So, hey, Guido, it's kind of like this. NASCAR's saying, quit starting park. You know what I mean? Quit starting parking. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden you go, okay. Then all of a sudden next week you can't get through tech. So, strong arm of the law, baby.
I'm not too sure what Kenny just said, but I'm going to agree with it. I don't know where Guido came in, but he scared me.
He knows Guido.
All right, well, we still got a lot to come on NASCAR Race Day. We have Bobby Labonte, Brian Vickers, just to name a few, coming by to see us.
There are cheaper ways to get some kicks than starting your own race team. So why'd Baldwin do it? Tommy sheds a little light on the answer.
We're out there. We're capable of doing it. Our overhead is low. All of our expenses are low. We're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. I think right now, coming into the economy the way it is and coming into the sport, I think we're at an advantage.
Stay tuned. NASCAR Race Day on Speed.
It's time now for another racing question from Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR. What race had the most drivers lead a lap? If you want the answer now, go to Ask.com, where NASCAR fans go to get the answers. Ask.com, the official search engine of NASCAR. Back here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, one of the fastest joints in NASCAR. And as we send it down to Hermie Sadler, we got a question that you might be able to find on Ask.com as well. And Hermie, this is a question I believe you can ask your next guest. What driver won the October race in Talladega in 2006?
Should I ask him now, JR?
Yeah, well, if you want to. You can do whatever you want with it.
We got a question from Ask.com. Who won the Cup race in October 2006 at Talladega?
I think that was Brian Vickers.
Is that right, JR?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
You win. What does he win?
Nothing.
Oh, you win nothing. Hey, do have Brian Vickers. I want to talk a little bit about today, but before we talk about today, you know, we started off the year with the Daytona 500, biggest race of the year. Were you there? Were you in that race? You were kind of under the radar. We haven't heard much from you.
Yeah, I rode around for a little bit, you know, and then, you know, I went and played in the grass for a little bit too, and it was fun.
Well, you go to Daytona, you got the grass, the beach, you got a lot of stuff to do down there.
A lot of stuff to do. Actually, I went there last night and saw the motocross event.
Well, you must really love Daytona. Maybe go back in July, you'll have better luck on the racetrack. But in all seriousness, talk about today. This is the kind of racetrack that if you're going to win again first in this Toyota, it would be a place like Atlanta.
I'd love to win here. I mean, this is one of my favorite racetracks. It's a special place. I mean, I think it doesn't get really the credit it deserves at times. It's a very difficult, you know, it's a very difficult, very challenging track, slick. You slide around, but it's still fast, you know, and that's what makes it a lot of fun. And, you know, I think to win here, it would be special.
You got a new crew chief this year, Ryan Pemberton. Tell us, a lot of times it takes time to gel with the new crew chief, but Ryan's been around a long time. How's that worked out for you?
So far, it's worked out great. You know, we've unfortunately had a lot of adversity to overcome between having to start last the past few weeks, blowing engines, and last week we lost an alternator and dealt with that the whole race. You know, obviously we know what happened in Daytona, but you know, really proud of the team effort. You know, Ryan's did a great job leading the Red Bull guys to 2 top 10s, even overcoming all the adversity we've had, and that's what's really what you have to win a championship. You know, every week's not going to go as planned. You have to have good cars, which we've had, and you have to overcome adversity sometimes, and so far we've done it.
And JR, since you're going to throw questions to me and my pal Brian Vickers off the cuff, I got one back for you at the stage. Who rolls off 17th today in today's race in the Cobalt 500?
And Hermie, with confidence, I can answer that is Brian Vickers. And here's one more number 17 for you. When it comes to Brian Vickers, he's currently 17th in points, and he got there from 40th at Daytona. So this is an up-and-coming team. Better watch out for him today and this year. We're going to take another quick break here. We still got Bobby Labonte coming up to talk to us, and he is one of the most successful drivers on this racetrack ever. So we'll be back to the Atlanta Motor Speedway with more race day in a moment.
A nice start to 09 has us thinking resurgence. What's the key to the turnaround? Wendy talks to some major players in MWR's comeback and gets a few answers.
We're building good cars, we're taking good cars to the track, and David's doing his job, and you know, everything's just coming together.
Straight ahead, NASCAR Race Day on Speed.
What will you discover on the road to Bristol? From Georgia's high country to the Tennessee mountain passes, see it all from the driver's seat when you hit the road in your RV. Enjoy big savings at RV parks and campgrounds along the way, and save your money for an awesome RV tailgate party at the track. Go affordably, go RVing. Visit GoRVing.com to learn more. And in case you forgot to spring forward and reset your clock and you're just joining us right now in Wendy Venturini's Real Deal with Michael Waltrip, he gave a lot of the credit for success of his team to Booty Barker. So right now, we're going to get the good stuff with the Napa crew chief, Booty Barker.
You want the good stuff? We're going to talk about parity in the sport and how it has changed. Well, 20, 30 years ago, you had a lot of factors that separated each team. For one, the drivers. You had Pearson and Petty. You had Yarborough. You had a few elite drivers in the field. It just wasn't as talented across the board as it is now. You also had technological advances from the manufacturer, like a 427 stock Ford, Hemi engines, the Superbird with the wings. So you either had a lot more downforce or a lot more power than the other teams. Now that doesn't happen. If somebody has an advantage one week, we all quickly move to close that gap. Everybody has a lot of money, and you use that money to hire the best drivers, best people, and therefore create the best teams. So everything has become tighter. But yet and still, you still have some dominant people, but it's just a small advantage as compared to what it used to be, a big advantage. And there you have the good stuff.
Booty Barker, thanks a lot. Now, there's no doubt that the playing field has been leveled somewhat because of this new race car. Quite frankly, it's cheaper to get into the sport, and one of the guys who definitely took advantage of that fact was Tommy Baldwin. His race team rose out of nothing to make the Daytona 500. Let's take a look at Tommy Baldwin Racing and the season stats. Started in Daytona 17th, finished 25th. At the Auto Club Speedway in California, started 36 and finished 36. Did not qualify for Vegas and did not qualify for Atlanta. But he's definitely one of the truly inspirational stories of the racing season. A race team that rose out of nothing and made the 500, but they've failed to make the last two races, and now this upstart team faces an uphill battle.
The recession has hit NASCAR in ways that changed what fans see on the track. But the four dominant teams that controlled the chase last year are still as powerful as ever. However, several of the mid-sized teams, which spent $12 to $20 million a year, are gone. Less than a decade ago, teams like Bill Davis Racing were near the top of the sport, and their longtime employees, like Tommy Baldwin, can only remember.
Checkered flag is up, and Ward Burton is going to win the 44th Daytona 500. Bill Davis Racing and Ward Burton have just won the Great American Race.
You know, Bill and Gail, they poured their heart and soul over 20 years in that business, and I felt dedicated to them to try to keep it going. But after the team closed down and they let everybody go, just sat down for a while and got all my thoughts together and take a look at some things, take a look at the economy, take a look at the people that were available to come and work for us, take a look at the equipment, everything that was up for sale. We just felt that the timing was right.
But getting all the parts and pieces of a race team at discount prices wasn't the only rationale to start a new business venture.
There's three reasons why I went ahead and did this. One was the economy. Two was the no testing policy. That saves millions of dollars, and it kind of puts the teams in a closer range as far as the competition side goes. Three was the car tomorrow. I mean, NASCAR has done a great job on not allowing any rule changes. Over the years, we've had to hire an extra 10, 15 guys just because of rule changes during the winter. We've had to cut cars up every winter. Now, people are racing the same cars they had 2 years ago, and there hasn't been any tempo changes and major things that have been changed on these cars. So those are the three major things that we sat back and we went over and we thought about and gave us the reasons to be here today.
Only 30 days before the Daytona 500, Tommy Baldwin Racing was formed. They had made it there and just had to show that they belonged.
Now Riggs is up to 5th. He's in a transfer spot. Joe Nemechek, the 87, is 4 spots behind him. There he is on the high side in blue, trying to get close enough to make the 500.
A lot on the line that day to get in the race, and a lot of promises, a lot of letters written, and a lot of notes on tables waiting to get paid.
Who's going to make the show? Gordon wins it, and Riggs is in for Tommy Baldwin's startup team that came down here unsponsored. Scott Riggs
Look at
is
this.
in the
Look at
Daytona
this.
500.
Yes!
It was a big boost for our company. I think it gave us the recognition that we needed to pursue other opportunities for the future of Tommy Baldwin Racing.
Tommy Baldwin Racing isn't the only new team that spawned this offseason. Not since the days of Alan Kulwicki have we seen so many Davids versus Goliath.
Let's face it, I mean, big companies don't have $15 to $20 million to spend anymore. If they have 8 to 10, they can do the same thing that they were doing the last 2 or 3 years. So we're out there, we're capable of doing it. Our overhead is low. We're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. I think in another 2 or 3 years down the road with this car tomorrow and the way it's progressed and the way it's going to get scienced out, I think the little guy will have a chance again.
And if you ask most fans, I think they will agree that you got to give the little guy a chance in this sport, that it can't go by way of the super teams and some other racing series that have had that happen before. But Jimmy, is this wishful thinking for Tommy Baldwin Racing or the land of opportunity? You and Kenny Wallace have both been there before, owning teams with struggling race teams. What's your advice to them?
Well, I think of it as a trench. It was a great story in Daytona. Both Mayfield and Riggs makes this race. And this trench that they've got dug if Tommy Baldwin's not careful, it's going to get deeper, and he can't get out of it. So sometimes you need to look back and say, you know what, I need to quit right now, cut my losses, or I need to make some major changes. In fact, I think they need to get rid of Mayfield and Riggs. They missed races again, 2 in a row.
Get rid of them?
Get rid of them. Get new drivers in there, Tommy, if you're going to be successful.
Who do you go with, Jimmy?
They missed the races. End of story. You can't fail in this sport. You know, Riggs has never had the success he's needed. Why would he put him in that car? Okay? Mayfield, Penske, Everham, all these teams. No success.
He won races there. Jeremy Mayfield won races at those.
It's in the past.
I know, but who do you go with, Jimmy? Where else do you go?
You find somebody that can push the pedal and get the car in the race.
Give me one name.
Well, I'm not going to mention names. They're mad at me now.
Well, you mentioned their names. No, I said give me one name of a guy that can get in there. Who can get in the car? Who are you going to pick if you're starting up?
I like some guys in the truck series. I like this kid that was driving for 47.
I don't know.
In the Nationwide series.
I don't know. Oh, Kelly Byers.
Kelly Byers. I like Kelly Byers, and I like this McCumbee guy.
Chad McCumbee. But what do you get for Jimmy? You're asking Jeremy Mayfield to fire himself. How's he going to do that?
Well, then if he doesn't fire himself, he needs to realize that ditch is going to get deeper and deeper, and you won't get out of it.
Well, there's a lot of people out there, Kenny, that are pulling for these guys. They're saying, yay, go for it.
I'm pulling for him, but it's time to make changes.
You know, one thing about Spence, he's brutally honest. You know, you ask him his opinion,
I think he
he's
needs
going
a
to tell
hug.
you. Let me just say this. I admire the dedication of Tommy Baldwin because we're all racers. Me and Tommy Baldwin, we're the same, except I drive race cars.
And you're a lot smaller than him.
Well, I built them. You know, I mean, I always tell the fabricators, I say, look, don't make me weld that, chassis up. But one thing I got to say is that, look, you look at Tommy Baldwin, they won about $360,000 this year. They have to go to the races because they don't have sponsors.
Got to make them.
They got to make the races to get this race here pays $70,000, almost $80,000 for last. So now these guys are out of 70 or 80 grand. Well, do you run a limited schedule? It starts getting to be about the bottom line. You missed 2 races in a row. You've lost $140,000 because that's what last place pays. So I'm worried about them because you have to make the races to make it work.
And again, we say it every weekend. We got to say it again.
Baby.
If it was easy, everybody. But let's hug it out here. We got to get the love back in a NASCAR race day. Let's hug it out here.
Hey, I'm going to race Bristol next week. What do you think of that?
Yeah,
that scares me greatly.
Back,
it just scares me. Welcome back, everyone, to NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. It's race number 4 of the season and race number 100 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And this was the scene last year when Kyle Busch started it all. He went on a tear after winning this race. He won in Las Vegas last weekend, and one of the most dangerous things for other competitors in this sport is when Kyle Busch gets on fire. Now let's go back to Friday. It's been a long time. As a matter of fact, 256 races since Mark Martin has sat on the pole. But that's exactly where he'll be today as we green flag the Cobalt 500.
All
right, so we're having so much fun. We brought our friend Hermie Sadler up here to do some driving. How's it going,
I
Hermie?
came to settle y'all boys down out here.
Well, it was a little trouble earlier, but we're okay
hugging
now.
Hermie and everything, you know.
Yeah, the love is back in race day.
I feel it.
All right, so let's strap in and take a lap around this place. It's a fast lap, isn't it, Hermie?
What a great lap. Atlanta Motor Speedway coming off turn 4, riding with the number 5 car of Mark Martin, Jimmy. Hey, a fast racetrack in qualifying, but also a track that gives up, so the driver's got to move around, Jimmy.
And you know, Hermie, you had said earlier in the show where you were standing at turn 4, the banking on this racetrack. Look how wide this track is.
You know, I must say, the kid Martin is a bottom feeder. He always runs the bottom, but check this out as he heads down the back straightaway. He's got a lot of grooves to choose from. Mark goes to the bottom, but the corner before, he ran the top. He's getting groovy, he's seen where he needs to run.
A lot of bumps on this racetrack, too. As I mentioned before, hadn't been paved since '97, but I think as a driver, guys, you can't have it set in your mind before you get here where you're going to run at. This new car calls for you to think outside the box, go where the car needs to go.
And, you know, what I liked about this racetrack, you could hear the crew chief. What did you do wrong? You just lost 3 or 4 tenths. The key for a driver is to find his groove and get in a groove. That's the key. Like you just said, Kenny, you know, he's high here and he's low there. You can very easily lose a lot of time on this racetrack, and the crew chief got to get you back in line to get in focus.
And you can very easily overdrive this racetrack, too, in race conditions, a 1.5-mile racetrack. And look, pit strategy and tires could be an issue. Think about Jimmy Johnson in the fall last year trying to get this championship.
Impressive.
outside the top 10. He comes in, puts 4 tires on. He drives all the way to second place and salvages a great finish here at Atlanta. So a lot of stuff in play today.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive. But what about the fuel mileage, Kenny Wallace? This track is notorious.
Any racetrack that you can run everywhere like that, you know, Michigan, Atlanta, you can run everywhere. No cautions. So fuel mileage becomes an issue because you don't have a choice when to pit or not. You got to pit when you're out of gas, and sometimes it's mostly under green flag.
And the thing, too, about this track is this is one of the few tracks consistently you're going to be making green flag pit stops. So the pit crew got to be on, you know, this pit road rule, this penalty, very easy to lose a lap if the driver makes a little mistake on pit road speed, Johnny.
What about the tires?
The tires are going to be big. We talked about Jimmy Johnson. And look, if you're watching this race and you see your driver sliding up to the racetrack to the top of the wall, he's probably not going up there by choice. The car is sliding up the racetrack, and you got to manage that. But tire management will be a key today.
Now, when we look back through the history of NASCAR, there's no question that we're going to say the advent of the safer barrier at the racetrack was one of the greatest things ever to happen. Take a look at Colin Brown. When you see his truck hit the inner barrier, you can see so well, you saw it live on Speed, exactly what those safer barriers do.
You know, I'd like to give credit where credit is due. Ricky Craven does not race anymore, but Ricky Craven said about 5 years ago, he said, you know, one day we're going to look back and go, how barbaric. We used to run into concrete walls. What a great invention, and this is because of the death of the late, great Dale Earnhardt. Soft walls, the Hans device, the seat is all because of Dale Earnhardt. So when I seen Colin Braun hit that wall, I couldn't believe how much that wall moved. That boy would have been hurt if not for that.
And just think about how foreign it looks right now to see those old pit stops when the guys went over the wall without helmets on. That was another huge safety innovation. Let's go now down to Wendy for our Shell Garage report. Wendy, what's happening down there?
Well, thanks. You're talking about innovations within NASCAR. They've made another innovation for 2009, and that has to do with the wheels and the studs that are on those wheels during pit stops. We saw in Las Vegas last week, they had a few loose wheels during the race. In fact, we've had more loose wheels already in 2009 than combined for 2008. Well, what has NASCAR done? They have lengthened the studs on the wheels for a safety factor. Here's a look at some of the thoughts in the garage area.
You know, we've been struggling with lug nuts coming off all year long. With the new rules that we have where we have to run a longer stud, has caused us to have a little bit of issue, and unfortunately it bit us in a big way at Vegas.
I think the guys are just so, you know, the Cup side have been so used to the short studs, the 7 turns, which now it's probably 2 to 3 threads longer than that now. So it's just, it's pit crews not slowing down, not making sure that the stuff's tight, you know, getting over anxious. You know, it's early in the year, but you know, at this level, I don't understand why there's so many penalties or loose wheels.
With the new rule, it puts everybody on the same playing field. Everybody has to have X number of threads showing outside the lug nut, and there's no judgment there. It's either you have it or you don't, and you don't get through tech if you don't.
And you definitely want to be able to get through that tech inspection after the race. Now we're joined by 2 Joe Gibbs Racing guys. One, the athletic director, Mike Lepp for JGR. Now, Mike, tell us the how NASCAR has changed the rules, and what does this mean for a lot of the over-the-wall crews?
Well, we've lengthened the studs a little bit, and what that means is the number of turns that lug nut has to make before it gets the wheel tight has gone up by about 4 turns. And during a pit stop, that's going to add probably between, you know, in a whole pit stop's going to add about a half a second to a second. But there's also the transition of getting used to that. You have tire changers been doing it a certain way over and over, and now they have to learn a different tempo and make changes, which slows the pit stop down a little bit. But it's equal for everybody, and we'll see how it goes.
All right, and Mike has to work with tire changers such as Aaron Smith, who is the tire changer for Joey Logano's number 20 car, the rear tire changer. Now, Aaron, tell me, how has this changed your rhythm? Because since this rule change in 2009, you guys have been fortunate not to have any loose wheels, knock on wood, but other teams have. How has it changed your style?
It's really changed my style a lot. I've had to slow way down, and I've been changing tires for 10 years, and to go from one way for 10 years to this way now, it took me a month to get used to it, but we've got it down, I think, now, and hopefully we don't have any troubles like some of the other teams.
All right, good luck to you guys again today. Of course, that means a little bit slower pit stop. Slow could equal fast, but another thing they're watching for, as Mike was telling me before this interview, the glue is somehow gathering together on that lug nut, which is also causing some of those loose wheels out on the racetrack. Johnny?
Wendy, thanks a lot. It shows you just where we are in this sport right now when a half second is a big deal. We got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll take you up inside the Fox broadcast booth, see what's coming up on the big show today as we get ready to do battle with one of the fastest racetracks anywhere, the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Today at 1:30, we advise you to tune to your local Fox affiliate for the Cobalt Tools 500 pre-race show from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. The guys will talk to Clint Boyer. Bobby Labonte goes back to school, and they will discuss the hottest driver on the circuit, and that is Kyle Busch. You know, down here at the speed stage, we got some pretty good toys to play with, and we like to do so throughout the weekend, but also the guys who have the really good toys are up in the Fox Race broadcast booth, and for a little bit of a tour, we're going to go up to Larry McReynolds and Mike Joy. Now, Mike, show us what you got up there.
Well, thanks, John. Our cameraman, Steve Sajak, is going to show you around what I think is the best seat in the house in all of auto racing. We kind of stand here. We don't sit during the telecast so that we can project and enunciate. Our statistician, Bill Sloboda, sits here, and he hands us all these sticky notes that are all over the screen. You got to have sustenance, a lot of fat-free, and a lot of coffee to get through the day. This is the monitor that Darrell looks at. Darrell stands across, and we look across each other so we can maintain eye contact with each other and still watch the racetrack and the monitors. This is our statistic monitor. It shows us the last 10 laps that have been run and where everybody is, where they are in the current lap, lead changes, leaders, caution flags and reasons, cars out of the race, and how the points would stand right about now if the race ended now, and of course it never does. This comes from our Fox box from down below. This is a wealth of information: position, make of car, driver, where he started, how far behind the leader he is, last lap, fastest lap, and most importantly, when was he last on pit road? There's other information here too. Larry?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Mike, I call this the heartbeat of our broadcast. I probably watch the scoring monitor more than I do anything because it gives us so much information to go off of, especially the last time that they were on pit road. Now, this is a little tool that we love using. It's our telestrator. This is how we make marks. Sometimes we're right on the mark, sometimes we're way off the mark, okay? DW's notes, same as last week. Now, this is the monitor that Mike watches. Of course, Mike stands there, Darrell stands here, and I stand in the middle, and I try to always stay back just a little bit. That way I can actually make eye contact with both of them.
Right. And then I don't have to look through you. I can kind of look at you. But I'll tell you, and then we have a raft of support people. Barb handles audio, and Andy works with the in-cars. He's the stage manager. Chris gets us anything we need. It truly is. It's not catered as well as Bruton Smith's suite, but it is, I promise you, the best seat in the house.
Hey, Larry, what about strategy today? What kind of tools do you need on top of that pit box to make the right strategy call for a win here?
Well, it's going to be totally opposite of last week at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. As we watched that race unfold, especially as we got down near the closing laps, we saw all types of strategy. We saw 2 tires, 4 tires, fuel only. Of course, Shane Wilson with Clint Boyer decided not to come to pit road at all. But like Jimmy Elledge, crew chief for Scott Speed, told me this morning, this is an easy race to call because it's almost becoming like Darlington. The racetrack has lost so much grip. You want tires after about 5 or 6 laps, so the simple formula is every time the yellow flag waves, you come to pit road to get 4 tires. And even though these cars can go about 54 to 58 laps on fuel, I think you'll see them start hitting pit road somewhere around lap 40 to 45, doing what we call the short pitting.
And those numbers are important because this track is famous for long green flag runs. So we may cycle through 2 green flag pit stops before we ever see a caution flag.
Larry and Mike, guys, thank you so much for the insight. Thanks for the tour, and we'll be watching this afternoon. All right, that's Larry McReynolds and Mike Joy. Now we're going to switch our sights to the Advanced Auto Parts Texplanation, and for that, we bring in our good friend Hermie Sadler. Hermie, what do you got in terms of toys down here?
Well, JR, we do have lots of toys here at the Advanced Auto Parts Cutaway Car. Now, we want to talk a lot about what's been in the news, and that is engines. A lot of engine failures over the last couple of weeks. We want to tell you a little bit about why we've been having that. Right here on the table, I've got a standard camshaft you see inside of an engine. Well, what engine builders found out was happening was the lobes on the camshaft was harder than the material on top of these lifters. These are lifters that are you find in these engines. Well, these lifters have been heat treated to protect them from being ground metal to metal with this cam lobe. But if you can see these two lifters, this is a brand new one, coated, no time on the racetrack. This one you can already see that's been run. The coating off the top of this lifter has already started to come off, which causes a problem. Anytime you get back to metal, that's when you start having engine problems. Now, what's causing that? Well, if you ask the engine builder, he says there's probably some contamination in this coating. The coating's not staining up. If you talk to the guy coating the lifters, he says the engine builders in a constant struggle to find horsepower, they're getting too aggressive with this cam lobe and too aggressive with using light oil in practice and qualifying. So they're asking the engine builders to, hey, back off on that a little bit, use a heavier viscosity oil, and let's try to last these 500 miles. So engines have been in the news. They probably will also today, but engine builders are doing what they can to prevent this. JR?
Hermie Sadler, thanks a lot. If you want to go under the hood, go online to the Advanced Auto Parts cutaway car on speedtv.com. You can find it. We guarantee if you go there, you're going to learn something new. And on March 20th on Speed, NASCAR heads to the boldest bull ring in racing, Bristol. Our coverage begins Friday at noon Eastern. Don't forget the ultimate Friday night party, NASCAR trackside at 7 Eastern. NASCAR on Speed, be there. Presented by Advanced Auto Parts. Keep the wheels turning. Woo!
Welcome back to NASCAR Race Day here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, where we first started this show about Michael Waltrip racing in part 1 of The Real Deal. Now it's time for part 2, which continues on with David Rudiman. Now, David Rudiman had a top 5 finish, his first career top 5 finish. He sits 5th in points. Here's more from owner Michael Waltrip, driver David Rudiman, and his new crew chief, Rodney Childers. All right, David, let's start off with you. 5th in points, the top 5 last week. It's a good way to get the season rolling compared to last year.
Yeah, compared to I think any year we've had so far. We've and everybody knows it's way early in the season and the points will shift back and forth. But to start out the year strong with Aaron's Dream Machine and having a new crew chief and all those things combined, I think I'm pretty encouraged by what I've seen so far.
There's been one constant there, and it's been David. He's had a couple of crew chiefs, and he's just been able to keep crafting his skills and learning what he's doing, and he's just a breath of fresh air around here.
Obviously, from the guy you see on the pit box that is making the calls, it has changed again. 3 years and 3 crew chiefs. I think everybody was thinking I'm impossible to work with or something. I don't know, but it's just the way things have worked out, and I think every time it's probably worked out for the better.
All right, Rodney, it looks like you're fitting right into your new gig. How's this combo working out? Because it looks pretty good 3 races in.
Yeah, it's actually worked out great, and from day one, it seems like it's just went smooth. Every step of the way, and we're building good cars. We're taking good cars to the track, and David's doing his job, and everything's just coming together.
David, you're pretty shy, and Rodney, you're pretty quiet. So do either of you ever scream at each other?
Not yet. We're only a couple races in. I like Rodney's demeanor where he'll, I'll be out there and I get kind of animated on the radio sometimes.
Yeah, I got the brakes. How do you think things gonna work?
And generally the reply I get is,
10-4, man. Do the best you can with it here.
At that point, it doesn't do you any good if you have a crew chief that yells back at you, because sometimes the driver, they're just going to yell. We act like idiots sometimes, but he's focused on what he's got to do to make the car better, so it'll shut me up, I think. It's better off for me to stay calm and try to, calm him down if I can, but, like I said before, it's worked out great. I think our personalities match really well, and it seems like the races just go really smooth, compared to the past, and, I think that's helping us out a lot.
Now that we're 3 races in, have you maybe reassessed what you guys can accomplish?
I feel like our goals are in line. I feel like we want to be in contention to win races on a regular basis. I feel like a bad race for us ought to be 15th. We shouldn't, whereas before, 15th would have been an awesome weekend, So again, just be consistent and do the little things a little bit better and have some fun doing it, because I'm really having a good time right now. And if you, like you said earlier, if you get everybody having a good time, things just seem to click right away.
Is it a good or a bad thing that you guys are getting all this media attention in the last couple weeks?
Oh, I love talking to you guys every chance I can, but most of the time nobody wants to talk to me, because I haven't. I found that you either have to do something really stupid, or really good to get any time. So I've been on the stupid side of things plenty, so I'm enjoying this a lot.
He's funny. I wish people knew him like I know him. You know, he's just very, very shy, kind of quiet. But everything he does with passion.
So you two are brutally honest and, according to David, not overly social. Correct?
Yeah.
Is that a good assessment?
That's pretty much it.
Well, they may not be overly sociable, but they are great guys. Very shy and very quiet, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But don't be fooled. David Rudiman and Rodney Childers, I think, have a quiet confidence about them. They're going to have a great season. But as David Rudiman said, his father, Buzzy, always told him you couldn't be overly confident in this industry. And I think neither one of them are that. Johnny?
Wendy, thanks a lot. You know, that's what they say about Jimmy and Kenny. Quiet, confident, you know.
That's true, Johnny.
Very, very shy. Quiet.
True, Kenny.
Yeah, right.
I get very embarrassed when people want me to talk about things. I'm shy.
Yeah, right. You know, I don't know who exactly said it, but it's often been said that well begun is half done. So the drivers who are off to a great start to this season, well, it gets magnified a little bit because we've only had 3 races so far. But if you're off to a bad start, it gets magnified as well. Let's hear from some guys about the start to this season.
You know, for Edwards and Johnson to be off a little bit, you know, that's, you know, you can have that. I mean, we were off last year, unfortunately, in the final 10 races. You know, what does it matter that they're off in the first 26? You know, they'll probably hit their stride in the final 10. So hopefully it's not a flip-flop of our season running good in the first 10 and not in the final 10.
You're only as good as your last race, and what have you done for me lately is kind of the way this sport is. And, you know, that's the way you have to assess yourself and your race team. I mean, a lot of naysayers in the media says that we're already out of it. To be able to come out and come out swinging right out of the box means a lot for not only myself, but the guys on the race team. You know, seeing them show up to Atlanta here with a pep in their step and everything, excitement. So to get things started off with on the right foot is I think, crucial.
Well, we kind of need to get the momentum back, I guess, after finishing last in Vegas. So it's been kind of interesting. Never dreamed we'd win the first 2 races and finish last in Vegas. So really, this week it's just important to go out, you know, run all week, hopefully get a good run and get another good finish, and you know, like you say, get some momentum and keep some momentum, getting some good finishes.
You know, people talk about momentum, and I think that they get momentum in front of the success part of it. You know, to me, when you start gaining points, you start getting top 5, start winning races, you're not doing that because something just happened. It's because you're a good race team and you guys are doing a good job, and that creates momentum. So you create momentum, momentum doesn't create success.
And you know, a few years back, we shortened this season by almost 1/3 when it comes to the cutoff for the chase after 26 races. What a difference a year can make. Let's take a look at the point standings after 3 races. And the guys on the bad end of that are Newman, Mayfield, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Guys on the good end of that, David Rudiman, Gordon, Clint Boyer, and Michael Waltrip, who have made huge strides, especially Jeff Gordon, as he leads the points at this point in the season for the first time since 1997. And that brings us to our best Western best and the rest. And Spence, I think you agree that this Kyle Busch team is up among the best right now.
Yeah, it's the best. Last week on Victory Lane, we saw Joe Gibbs come on our show, and he was bragging on Kyle, his maturity level. Kyle Busch right now is showing a maturity level that I've never seen in a driver from 1 year, winning 21 races to come back. How could he mature? Well, he has. He has gotten so well in his calling of the race and what to do to the car. But you know what Joe Gibbs is surprised about? That draft pick right there, Joey Logano. That guy was in trouble after 2 races. And last week, he did what he was supposed to do. He went out and finished. He finished 13th. A big boost in the points for him. Big help for Home Depot. A lot of relief for Joe Gibbs. So right now, I think that's the best organization, Kenny.
So, Kenny Wallace, what about the rest? Where do we go from here?
Well, we're off to a rough start with Hendrick Racing. We're talking about Mark the Kid Martin and Dale Earnhardt Jr. As we look here, we see Mark Martin. He blows a motor. This is at California. And we're thinking, okay, we've got one blown motor. Mark Martin can come back. He'll come back the next week at Vegas. Now, this is Vegas the very next week. Now, we know he is fast. We don't doubt that, Hermie Sadler. But Mark has blown 2 motors in a row.
He really is, you know, bad start for those guys. But I really think the cream will continue to rise to the top. Dale Jr. is the guy in that group that really concerns me, that, you know, mistakes on pit road, not running the way they want to run. Mark Martin is qualifying up front, running fast, but Dale Jr., mechanical problems, but he's got to be more consistent.
I said it last year, and I'll say it again, fans. It's called focus. I don't think the guy's got the focus that's necessary, and until he gets his focus right, he's going to struggle.
And look, if you're a guy that's, say, 30th to 32nd, 33rd in points right now, you want to get it done today, because who wants to come to Bristol and have to get a top 10 finish or a top 15 finish to get in that top 35 for 2009? You better get it done today if you want to get it done.
Well, we're going to send our buddy Hermie Sadler now down into the trenches.
Bye, Hermie.
Go find us some drivers to talk to, okay?
Herm.
I will do that.
But Hermie's the hardest working man in
Tell him you
NASCAR,
don't
man.
know me.
He comes out.
Say, I don't know Jimmy.
Jimmy who? I don't know that guy.
All right, so Hermie's going to go down to driver intro, see who he can find. We'll join Wendy down there in just a moment, and we'll continue to get you fired up for 500 miles of fast racing in Atlanta. Welcome back to the Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's high bank, high speed, and also there's something for everyone at Gander Mountain's Fish Fest. Start the season off right with great deals on name brand sportswear and fishing gear. Shop the all-new Gander Mountain. The store is the catalog or gandermountain.com. Well, we are just a few moments away from the start of the 4th race of the 2009 season, and so far this guy is off to a bang. The driver of the number 18 has already got 1 win so far this season, and he's at the scene of his first win of last season. Mark the Kid Martin, after 256 attempts at qualifying, will start on the pole today in his number 5 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, and that will have the best view of the scene of the green flag when it waves this afternoon. Now, for the first time since 2007, Jeff Gordon is on top of the points. For the first time since 1997, he's on top of the points after 3 races. Clint Boyer just 18 points behind him, and Kyle Busch just 54 back. That's by virtue of his win last weekend in Las Vegas. Brother Kurt Busch is 7th, and Casey Kane is 13th right now, just outside of the top 12. Denny Hamlin, Juan Pablo Montoya occupy the spots in the top 15. And how about Marcus Ambrose in the 20th spot right now? He's off to a great start this season. And one thing that Marcus Ambrose wants to do is prove that he's not just a road course racer, that he can race on ovals as well, and that's exactly what he's getting done. Now, photo finishes are commonplace here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Since 1960, no less than 25 of these races have been decided by a second or less. And since NASCAR started electronic scoring in 1993, 3 of Sprint Cup's closest finishes of all times have taken place right here in Hotlanta.
The green flag signals full speed.
Racing at Atlanta is fast, real fast. And the checkers, always a thrill.
Tommy Allison wins it. 16/100ths of a second, the difference.
3 of NASCAR's 12 closest Cup finishes of all time have taken place at Atlanta Motor Speedway. In 2000, Mike Skinner led a total of 191 laps and was looking for his first Sprint Cup win.
Mike Skinner has started to pull away, and he has built up over a 1.5-second lead over second place running Bobby Labonte.
Unfortunately, the 31's engine gave out. With Skinner out of the picture, Bobby Labonte and Dale Earnhardt Sr. turned Atlanta into a 2-man show.
Labonte tries to go high. Earnhardt says no way. Drifts up even higher. Off at turn number 2.
And gave us an Atlanta finish for the ages.
Bobby Labonte has a slight advantage to the inside. Here's Earnhardt battling back to the outside. At the strike, it is going to be Dale Earnhardt by maybe 1 foot as he wins the Cracker Barrel 500 in a photo finish.
The next season, the racing world was without its greatest hero. Kevin Harvick was the RCR heir apparent for Dale's ride and came into Atlanta with legendary shoes to fill.
The Childress team trying to go to victory lane for the 2nd year in a row in this race.
We had a photo finish here last race. We're getting ready for another one, folks.
In just his 3rd race, Happy was neck and neck with Jeff Gordon and took it up high with the checkers in sight.
Just like a year ago, he's going to get him, though. He's going to get him. Gordon got loose. It's Harvick. Harvick wins.
Maybe, just maybe, Harvick had a little help from above that day to score his first Cup win.
6 1,000ths of a second. That's an incredible finish. What a job for that young man.
Atlanta was a nail-biter for another up-and-comer in 2005. Carl Edwards, JJ, and the Biff led most of the race, but the 99 was coming on strong.
This is going to be another one of those Atlantas. I'm telling you, they're going to be side by side when they come to the line. And here they come, and I think Cole's got the advantage on him. He does. He did it. 2/100ths of a second after 500 miles.
Then again, some victories go against the grain.
such as last year's spring race, dominated by Kyle Busch. Rowdy led 173 laps on his way to his first of 8. Kyle got that first win of '09 out of the way last week, and like Kenseth, is looking to go back-to-back here in Atlanta.
500 miles of racing here often come down to a matter of inches. In 2001, Harvick beat Jeff Gordon by 6/1000ths of a second. Then in March 2000, it was Earnhardt over Labonte by 1/100th of a second. And then it was a real blowout in 2005. This is Carl beat Jimmy Johnson by .028. Man, what is it about this place that lends itself to such great finishes?
You know, the place is getting even better. Wore out pavement. The tires are wore out by the time this checkered flag waves. And the end result is 2 and 3 wide racing. That's the key, Kenny, and I don't think we'll see it any different today.
You know, I compare this track to the old Rockingham right now. Rockingham, we always seen side-by-side racing, side-by-side finishes. This is the racetrack that make the fans love NASCAR. When you get done watching this race today, you're going to be wore out because you're going to be, come on, get him. They'll be side-by-side all day long. And look, why should we expect different? I mean, it's going to be side-by-side at the finish again.
I don't want to see anything different.
No way.
I want to see another one of these great finishes here, and chances are we will see that. It's a beautiful day here in Hampton, Georgia at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we're ready for 500 white-knuckle miles here. That's coming your way in less than an hour away from the green flag right here. When we come back, we have the fantasy picks, and we'll also get you down to driver intro areas to talk to perhaps your favorite driver. You know, it's important to get off to a good start, but how about the race day fantasy picks? Who's off to a good start? Well, none other than Kenny Wallace and two-time defending champion Wendy Venturini. We're pretty excited here in the Johnny TV camp that we're off to a good start. But, you know, Spencer, you're talking about performance earlier in the show, man. You got to turn up your performance here. You're 141 back.
There's always a theory behind this, so I'll tell you later what the theory is.
Oh, excuses, I think, is what it is. Excuses.
Oh, I can't wait. Drama. Spence is going to tell us.
Yeah, you know what they say about
today.
excuses. All right, Kenny Wallace, you get to kick us off here, brother.
Okay.
Hey, I'm proud of you leading, too, by the way.
Well, I'm working hard for a living here. The guy that is going to win the race today is from, let me see, Chesterfield, Virginia. He has finished 15th last year in the spring race. In the fall race, he finished 3rd. None other than Denny Hamlin in the FedEx Toyota. Denny Hamlin's going to give me a good run today. Why? Because, once again, I say so.
All right, let's go to Wendy. Herm says so.
I heard Spencer say he was proud of Kenny for leading the points, but he went with the big red truck. Isn't that right, Kenny? All right, I'm going to let Kenny lead for 1 week. I'm going with the guy who didn't qualify very well, but he has one here in Atlanta, and that is Carl Edwards. He qualified 29th. He got a little tight in qualifying, which, of course, will kill your speed. But when I talked to Pierre Kittel, the car chief, they made very few changes this morning. Now, here's the advantage that Carl Edwards has today. It's hot and it's slick, and those are conditions that Carl Edwards loves. And I would love to be leading when we got a weekend off, but when we head to Bristol. Isn't that right? Let's head over to Johnny.
Well, Wendy, we'd like to let you lead, but the problem is you played right into my picks' hands because you talked about slippery racetrack. Nobody does better than this young driver from Vancouver, Washington. His name is Greg Biffle. He goes by the Biff, and today we are going to stick with the Biff. Greg Biffle will be the one that not only leads and dominates this race, but he will win. I don't care where he's starting. I know where he's going to finish, and that's in the first spot. And what do you think about that, Hermie Sadler?
JR, I love you. You know that. You're a fellow Virginian. But the Biff is not going to get it done today because this man, Jeff Gordon, will break his winless streak here at Atlanta. He's got a fast race car, does a lot of progress has been made so far this year. He will win today. He said the track's slick, but he loves it. Look for Jeff Gordon to go to victory lane. Spence?
Yeah, and last week I showed you, I took Brian Vickers. He hasn't had a top 10 at Vegas. Will he come home with one? Well, you know what? This guy's making his 550th career start. He's won this race from the lowest starting position, 39th. He'll start 40th today. But he's the most winning driver here active, Bobby Labonte. Today in the NASCAR 96. I got faith in Bobby, Johnny.
I think you're finally starting to make some sense, Spencer.
But this is my theory. I mean, I'm down a little bit, but you know what? These guys will pull me out. You watch next week at Bristol who I pick.
Okay, we'll see what goes on. Let's recap the picks. Let's see who has whom as we head in to this Cobalt Tools 500. It's Kenny Wallace with the number 11, Wendy Venturini with Cousin Carl, John Roberts will stick with the Biff, Hermie Sadler's with the 4-time champ, and Jimmy Spencer has a sentimental favorite here in the number 96. Let's go back to Wendy.
Well, this is the point of the show where I'm going to tell Jimmy Spencer he probably should have picked somebody else. He probably should have picked Ryan Newman, and that is because, Ryan Newman, I can't help but notice the article that came out this weekend where you said if you were going to box anybody in this NASCAR community, the only guy you would box with would be our own Jimmy Spencer.
Well, I didn't say the only. I just said who'd be a good fight, and I think Jimmy would be a good fight. He's a scrapper. I mean, he's got that junkyard past, and I'd want a good fight. I wouldn't want to just clobber somebody. I know he's thrown a few punches in his past, so that was just who I picked.
And this, of course, stems from a charity event you're going to do in your off weekend, or attend a boxing event, correct?
Yeah, we're doing a charity event on Thursday. It's for the Charlie Foundation. It's in Nashville, and just going to have a little fun. You guys asked me what I was going to do on my off weekend, and that was on Thursday, but just go out there and have some fun, try to raise some money for the Charlie Foundation.
All right, what are you going to do today? How is your race car? I know you were trying to get that pole for the history making here in Atlanta, but nonetheless, I'm sure you just want the win today.
Yeah, I mean, the track's going to be slick and greasy for sure. We got a nice, beautiful day here in Atlanta. Haas Automation Chevrolet seemed like it was better on the longer runs, which we typically have here in Atlanta, so we'll see what we got.
All right, good luck to Ryan Newman, who qualified 12th for today. Spencer, maybe he can give you some boxing moves later. Johnny?
Boy, I don't know who's the odds-on favorite in that one, man. That'd be one heck of a fight.
Listen, he ain't getting no virgin. I've been knocked on my ass before.
Oh, Lord, come on.
I don't know what to say after that. Once again in the show, I'm speechless. Back to Atlanta. We'll get you down to driver intros in just a moment.
NASCAR Race Day is built by the Home Depot. You can do it, we can help. Brought to you in part by Verizon Wireless. Now introducing Friends and Family. Who will you choose? And by Go RVing. Visit GoRVing.com for a free video. What will you discover? Go RVing.
Next week, Herm and Spence get weird on their week off before taking a trip to NASCAR's fastest half mile, where the only certainty is uncertainty. Who escapes calamity? Live from Bristol in 2 weeks, NASCAR Race Day on Speed.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Atlanta Motor Speedway and NASCAR Race Day built by the Home Depot. Couple of big questions today. Will the engines hold up? Will the tires hold up? But here's my question. Hermie Sadler, who do you got down there for us to talk to?
Well, I rounded up my buddy Casey Mears here. Casey, a good qualifying run for you guys today, but I talked to you earlier today. Feeling pretty good about this 07 car, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we had an okay qualifying run. It was better than we've had the first couple races, but I feel real good about it. The car runs real good. It seems like it likes the top, it likes the bottom. I'm able to run in the middle. We had a hard time running a quick lap yesterday in practice, but I really felt like after 10 we had a great car. So hopefully get this DirecTV Chevrolet up front and get Jack Daniels and DirecTV in victory lane.
What's the key at a place like Atlanta? I mean, it's a fast racetrack, but it's also a place you got to manage your tires and equipment too. How do you balance that?
It is. I mean, it's a long race, and a lot of people forget this is a really long race, 500-mile race. So the track's going to change a lot over the course of the race. It seems like, a groove gets real popular about midway through, and then it gets real rubbered up, and you got to find somewhere else to go. So I think just staying alert, looking at the track, knowing which way to go when the track changes, and then obviously, know what groove to be in at the end when it's time to go.
That's the thoughts of Casey Mears. Wendy?
All right, and his teammate Clint Boyer joining us on race day. Now, Casey Mears was just talking about how the groove's going to move around. What are you expecting this racetrack to do? It's very hot and slick, and we're gonna probably see you guys move around a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the cars are going to move around a little more than the groove will, but, that's what's fun about this track. There's options. You can run low, you can run high, roll up through the middle. I think it's going to be a dogfight on restarts, on grip and things. And when we string out, it's going to be whose car will roll the center the best. The track's really slick, the tires down on grip, and we're going to have to earn our money today.
All right, what are we expecting from the other guys around you? Because of that line moving around, is it difficult, make it more difficult to pass here in Atlanta?
Yeah, it is, but that's why you work so hard in practice. The BB&T Chevrolet was good in practice, and we just have to go out and see what we got, and adjust on it all day long. I think that's the biggest thing, is keeping up with the racetrack, keeping up with your adjustments, not over-adjust, and be there for the end.
All right, good luck to Clint Boyer. Let's head over to Hermie Sadler.
Standing with Juan Pablo Montoya, the Target Chevrolet. Good qualifying run, and slipping and sliding around on this racetrack, but you seem to like that kind of stuff.
I don't mind, we seem to have a good car. We qualified fourth, best qualifying of the year. I think we got a great car. It's one of those deals that, it can go either way. And it's hard, you look at lap times for everybody. And it's hard to say this guy is fast. You know, somebody came to me this morning and said, oh, we think you got a good car. And I looked at them and was like, are you sure? So I don't know, but I gotta say, as you say, you know, it's Target Chevy and everybody, Earnhardt Ganassi has come up, you know, and raised the bar a little bit. So it's nice to see that.
You picked up on this racetrack pretty good, even in your rookie season. Why did you take to this track so quick?
It had a lot of grip, you know. It had a lot of grip, and it was really fast, and I really enjoyed that, you know. And you could run anywhere. You can create different race lines, and I think you're gonna have to do that today. I think if, you know, you gotta figure out a way where your car runs good. I don't think it's gonna run good all the time in the same place, so we'll see.
That's Juan Pablo Montoya. Wendy, who you got?
Talk about being called out right here at Driver Intros. Bobby Labonte said, hey, you just told Spencer not to pick me. It was only because, you know, Ryan Newman wanted to box him, and I thought that would be pretty cool. How is your race car? Are you going to be boxing with that car today?
I'm afraid so. It's a little bit too, not quite what I wanted to have just in practice yesterday. So we made I think some really great changes for it. But, you know, as you know, this is the greatest weekend I've ever seen here for weather, but it's also the slipperiest that the track's probably been in years as far as the weather goes. So when it's cooler, it's always like, you got a little more grip, which here is important. So anyway, hopefully we'll get our ask.com Ford Fusion running really good and, you know, be right at the end. But it's going to be a little bit of a struggle, I'm sure, as the day goes on.
10th in points. I'm so proud of how your season's going so far. You got to feel good about this.
Well, I really do. And my explanation to the guys in the truck right before the race starts here is that, you know, obviously we can build on a good day, but we can also have you know, if we have a bad day, we got to make sure we keep the confidence in the race team and everybody, you know, going strong, because I know that those guys do a great job and they can provide us with great race cars. And so we just got to keep, you know, make sure that we keep that enthusiasm and confidence going. And I know they have it.
All right, Bobby Labonte, the winningest active driver here at Atlanta with 6 wins. Hermie?
Yeah, got Joey Logano. Joey, a good run for you guys last week. Got to give you a little confidence headed into probably what's going to be one of the toughest races you'll have this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. After making a few laps in practice and getting used to the cars here, they drive so different than they would at Vegas. You're sideways, but you're still in control here. So it's going to be exciting. I got a lot to learn, that's for sure. Starting at back, got my work cut out today, that's for sure.
What's your goal for today? I know you try to take week by week. This was a learning process for you, but what'll make today a successful day for you?
Just improving from where we are, you know, just getting used to the track with the Home Depot Toyota and just getting used to, you know, working with the guys even more and moving up through the pack. You know, I think a top 25 finish would be great for today for where we started and working here today. So we'll see. We'll work hard.
Good luck.
Thanks.
That's Joey Logano. Wendy?
All right, thanks, Hermie. I'm with David Reagan, hometown hero there, taking his sunglasses off. We appreciate that on race day. How is your race car, and are you enjoying being in your hometown crowd and seeing all your friends and family?
Yeah, just talked to some players back home from Tift County and Crisp County, Georgia. So, yeah, it's always fun to come back home. UPS's corporate offices are right up the street. So, a lot of UPS employees and fans and family up in the grandstands. But I think our race car is good. It's a lot better than where we're starting. We changed engines this morning, and no concerns there. But, man, it's going to be a wild 500 miles. It's going to be a lot of slipping and sliding and hanging on. So, Atlanta at its best.
All right, good luck to David Reagan. He knows a thing or two about this racetrack. Hermie?
Catching up with Matt Kenseth. He's talking with Jeff Burton. This ought to be a fun day today, 500 miles at Atlanta.
Yeah, we're just talking about how long it's probably going to be. It's the hottest day we've had and sunny, and we'll probably be running 34-second laps or something. It's going to be so slick. So it should be fun, but yeah, it's going to be a long day.
Hey, Jeff Burton, we talked to you earlier today on the show, but you had a good qualifying run by your standards. You going to lap the field today?
Come on, man. That's not nice.
Well, you say that all the time, so I'm just adding it on.
No, we're probably not going to lap the field today, but I think we're okay. I mean, it's just going to get really slow, and we're way loose, but I think everybody's way loose, and you know, when you get it tightened up, it won't turn. So it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a hard-fought day.
It's going to be a hard-fought day, and there's a basketball game going on late on today too, JR. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, that's a whole other story, though. We got 500 miles of racing before we get there, and they're going to be 500 good ones. We promise you. Want to say a special thanks to the folks at Atlanta Motor Speedway for being so hospitable to us folks here on Speed. And thank you, the fan, for coming along for the ride. We got 500 great miles of racing coming your way from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and we'll see you in Victory Lane.